Hey, and welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you today, and it is Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day to all my fellow Italian American and those of you who are also indigenous people, because we can't call it Columbus Day anymore. That would be too Italian. We have to call it Indigenous Peoples Day now. So happy Columbus Day from us here at Newsmax and Liquid Lunch. And we're downtown in the studios today. Manhattan is lightly traveled today because it is a holiday, but the New York Stock Exchange is open. Market's up just about 30 points. There's going to be no action today because it's Columbus Day. And Bitcoin is at 8,300, still in a decent place, but a way better place is when I'm here and he's there celebrating Columbus Day with me. Frank Morano joins me as usual.
Thank you, John. How are you doing? How's your weekend?
It was a liquid weekend, for sure. I mean, it started, from Wednesday last week with the bocce tournament, and then the whole weekend of celebrating.
That's wonderful.
It was excellent.
That's great.
Yesterday I got pretty banged up, I must admit.
Where were you that you got so
Went to a celebration of a good friend, Joe Doyle, who passed on 9/11, and every year they have a remembrance for him, a big football Sunday. Everybody from Staten Island and around New York came in to celebrate one of our fallen brothers. But we toasted to him many times.
Wonderful.
And,
very nice.
Drank late into the evening and until my phone died. And I woke up this morning and I couldn't believe some of the texts I had sent out.
I've been there. Drinking.
Thankfully, a couple of them didn't go. But
drinking and texting should be.
No, I know. I got to get like
honestly,
a thing like if my thumbs, if alcohol's coming through my pores, that my phone doesn't allow me to text. That would probably be better.
I totally agree on that front. Absolutely.
The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning and I've had a liquid evening is I go to my phone like this, like, oh, God, what did I do? Oh, there's nothing there. Fantastic.
I have been there, my friend.
Been there, done that.
All right. Well, none of those things, drinking and texting. Happy Columbus Day as well. And if you didn't see our commentary on Columbus Day on Friday, I do hope you'll go back and watch it. And we have a tremendous advocate for Columbus Day and for Italian Americans coming up in just a few minutes, Andre Domino. But
yes,
there is a debate tomorrow, and the breaking news is that Tulsi Gabbard, who we told you just a couple of days ago might be boycotting this debate, she's actually going to be participating. This is what Tulsi tweeted just before we went on air this morning. Take a look at this. Very short and simple and to the point. And essentially,
quite frankly,
again,
we don't have it.
The spoiler alert is she says she is going to participate in the debate after all, and that is precisely what I am speaking, frankly, about. All right, well...
I'm going to do this for today. It's Columbus Day, so anytime we're supposed to have inserts of media, and they're not there,
right,
I'm
you're going to play
this.
Great. The first song I ever sang as a kid.
Do we have the video yet?
No, I'm not holding my breath.
Okay.
Well, this was just a tweet. But anyway, so I don't know if you had an opportunity. So keep in mind, the New York Times is the co-sponsor of tomorrow night's Democratic presidential debate. It's going to include 12 candidates. And unlike last time, which didn't include Tulsi Gabbard nor Tom Steyer, both of those candidates are included this time. And the New York Times is a co-sponsor of this debate. And yet, they ran an article yesterday that was a total hit piece, a total smear job on Tulsi Gabbard. Now, keep in mind, these are the people co-sponsoring the debate. As Tulsi said when she was considering boycotting, as if to prove my point, all your favorite hits in one article, these are the folks who'll be acting as the neutral questioners and moderators at Tuesday's debate, LOL. So this article is perfect. It accuses basically Tulsi Gabbard of being an agent of Russia, an agent of white nationalists, basically a Trumpian candidate, which they know is going to go over like a lead balloon in the Democratic primary. They didn't mention that she's completely in favor of single-payer health insurance. They didn't mention all of her left-wing bona fides. They didn't mention the fact that she's a minority woman. They didn't mention the fact that she enthusiastically not only backed Bernie Sanders in 2016, but resigned as vice chair of the DNC because she couldn't bear to support Hillary Clinton. So the question is, how can the New York Times be an independent arbiter of this debate? How can they even have the pretense of anything resembling fair play if they're going to go out of their way to besmirch one of the candidates? I'll tell you what happened, quite frankly, is they saw that she was ticking up in the polls, not very much, only to about 2%. They see that her message of not going to war with places like Iran and Russia is actually beginning to resonate with people, and they're terrified that this message is going to catch fire. So they have to label her as a Trumpian candidate, as a Russian bot, as a favorite of candidates like David Duke and white nationalists. This is so bogus. And if you're a Democratic primary voter, I hope you're not taken in by this. New York Times should be ashamed of itself. This is journalism at its worst, in my judgment. Tippity tippity ta.
There we go. Frankie, I'm with you, man. You know, I was almost dozing off in that segment, not because you're not compelling and insightful and
Right,
exciting,
understandable, sure.
But this whole New York Times is a joke. It's a joke. It's not the paper of record anymore. It's not even a paper anymore. It's a rag. It's garbage. You would think a woman, a military veteran who served our country, a woman of color, okay, you would think they would be celebrating her and jumping up and down. Look what we have as a candidate. Ooh. Instead, they're rocking her. Every time she rears her head, it's like a whack-a-mole.
No, and I'm not suggesting candidates of all stripes shouldn't get very critical coverage, but there's a difference between a hit piece and critical coverage. Critical coverage is, well, Tulsi says we shouldn't go to war with Russia. This is why she says we shouldn't go to war with Russia. This is why all of the neocons in Washington disagree. That's real journalism. But this was a collection of people saying that Tulsi Gabbard is the favorite of the most evil people in the world. The Russians, the Nazis, the white nationalists, people on 4chan, Donald Trump, right-wingers, people that, you know, are not going...
What's 4chan?
4chan is an anonymous internet
That's the anonymous
message board.
site where all the white nationalists hang out.
Among others.
Conspiracy
That's
theorists. Right. I got some new Trump pens. And,
do they write this time?
You know this? Yeah, this one writes.
Nice.
It actually works. But, you know, we're starting a trend. I would have sent these pictures into our producer, Nico, to put them on the show, but that's a guarantee it won't get on the show if I actually do that in advance. But people are sending me photos of them holding up Trump pens.
Oh,
Fans
nice.
of the show are going out. There's going to be a run on Trump pens because of Liquid Lunch, which is not the worst thing. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
It's actually nice. But
what were you looking at out the
more
window?
important, there's like folks standing outside. Hey, they like wave at us and stuff. It's really nice. More important than Tulsi Gabbard, and I appreciate you calling out the New York Times because they deserve that and more. But lost in the news this past week was James Clapper, who you and I know refereed the fight between Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders.
That's right.
Was on CNN, and he was talking about how he's concerned that he's going to get investigated for building a dossier on Trump during the election. And he said, you know, I don't know why they would be investigating us when we did what the commander-in-chief, Obama, asked us to do. Take a look at this. You won't see this. You won't see this highlighted anywhere except on Liquid.
Apparently what we were supposed to have done was to ignore the Russian interference, ignore the Russian meddling and the threat that it poses to us. And oh, by the way, blown off what the then Commander-in-Chief, President Obama, told us to do, which was to assemble all the reporting that we had available to us, and put it in one report that the president could pass on to the Congress and to the next administration. And while we're at it, declassify as much as we possibly could to make it public. And that's what we did.
There you have it, right? You got James Clapper, who, what was he, the head of the national, what was he, the NSA or the CIA or, one of those intelligence agencies under Obama. And he said on CNN that he got orders from the commander-in-chief, Barack Obama, to put together a dossier on Trump. This is like huge news. No one's talking about it.
Yeah,
but am I wrong? I know I exaggerate things sometimes.
Well,
but.
I mean, he was the director of national intelligence, but to my knowledge, that's the first time that we've heard that this was done at President Obama's direction.
That's what I'm saying. That's the breaking news.
Yeah,
maybe
everything we've heard up until this point, at least everything that I've heard, and I stand to be corrected, is that this was something that the intelligence agencies, the FBI and the other agencies discovered on their own and then brought to President Obama's attention. What Mr. Clapper is making it sound like is that President Obama actually directed the agencies to collect this. That's pretty interesting.
You know what? This literally, I spoke to Patrick Byrne over the weekend. Patrick Byrne is the former CEO of Overstock.com. He's come out nationally to say that he was working as an asset for the Men in Black, he calls them. But I think what James Clapper said on CNN ties directly to what Patrick Byrne has been saying, that the deep state was ordered by Obama to create a plan B, a plan C. These guys like McCabe and Strzok and all these guys were working, they were using foreign intelligence agencies so they can get around the FBI to build a smear campaign on Trump. And
well, I'm not so sure, based on our conversation with Patrick Byrne or in that clip that we just played there, that that's what happened. I mean, if there's anything that we've seen, it's that James Comey and Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok and a lot of the leadership at the FBI didn't need any. They were enthusiastic about going after Trump. They didn't need to be gone around.
But here's the thing: they were enthusiastic about it, but they couldn't use U.S. FBI assets to do it. So they co-opted the CIA and foreign governments to do the work to get around our own FBI.
Well, I do hope, I've just linked to journalist Matt Taibbi's recent column, brand new as of today. The title of it is "We're Living in a Permanent Coup." And it's really the best explanation I've heard to date of how the intelligence agencies are trying to undo the results of an American election. It's a complicated piece. Maybe we'll get Matt Taibbi on to talk about it.
We'll get Matt.
But if you want to read it, please go to my Facebook page at facebook.com/MoranoFan. I've linked to it on there.
All right. We're going to celebrate our Italianness and our Columbus Day today. Andre, quick break. We're going to listen to E Compare and come back at you right after this with a little more Liquid Lunch.